Hey everyone, this is Scott from Forgot to Grow Up. Welcome to our Westworld Season 3, Episode 6 Thoughts video. Just finished watching the latest episode of Westworld on HBO, and I'm just going to be sharing my general thoughts on the episode. In this episode, we see Maeve's in VR, we see William's in VR, and then we also see Sirach and Hale having to deal with Sirach's takeover of Delos. This episode was kind of, I don't want to say slow, but it's a little more, less going on. Not less going on. It was just a little bit more. I like to think of it as like kind of pushing the bar forward, or pushing the story forward kind of episode, kind of setting things up for the final couple episodes of the season. So yeah, we've got Maeve in VR in this episode. She spends the whole time, kind of just pretty much waiting around, catching back up with her friends Hector and him, the other guy whose name I always forget. She's catching up with them while she's getting a new body printed for her, which I thought was kind of interesting. Because I'm like, wait, is it quicker? Is it quicker to print her a new body instead of, maybe just patching the other one? She just got stabbed once. Hosts get stabbed all the time. You guys just repair them all the time. So that part I was just a little like, okay, we're printing new ones, but she's also getting her friends printed, so she's got some backup, and maybe she's getting a little more of an upgrade in the new body. So we pretty much spent the whole time with Maeve in VR, or the Westworld simulation, which we saw her in at the beginning of the season, she's in there, and she is also able to speak with one of Dolores' copy, the one from the security guy, I believe, or the guy who I always think is a security guy. Maeve's just trying to gather more information, talk it through with Dolores, and trying to figure out Dolores' ultimate plan and what Dolores ultimately thinks even Maeve should do, because they're on opposing sides, but also at the same time on the same side, because they both obviously want hosts to survive, but at the same time they both have kind of a different idea of the free will aspect of it, with Dolores having kind of the control over their memories and the world where the valley beyond, which is kind of, I guess, almost like their heaven. And then we got Maeve, who has the ability to control other hosts. I'm not sure to what extent. We haven't really seen her using it in the real world too much yet, but that was just kind of interesting to spend the time in VR with them. And then we also saw William, who's in the mental hospital that Hale kind of set him up and got him put into, and we see that he gets put into, it's technically AR, which, well, they call it AR therapy, but I'm like, this is technically VR. Like, yes, you put the glasses on, but it wasn't like projecting it into the room he was on, so it was more of a VR. But anyways, that's neither. Well, I guess maybe it was more of an AR, considering he was in just one room with the versions of himself. That's not the point. The point is, he was in VR or AR, and he was talking to a bunch of different versions of himself that's younger, and all these different younger versions of him, and trying to figure out what it was that led him to being who he was. And we get to learn a little bit about his childhood. We hear about this one, incident with somebody who was trying to bully him and what he did to that kid. And I was like, oh snap, okay, this clearly was always a little bit of a thing. But I was also like, don't make fun of kids. Don't be a bully unless you want to get bullied. But that, it was a little far to maybe break the kid's arm. We didn't see that. His dad just told us that. Anyways, that's not the point. I still just thought it was fun to kind of see him talking to himself, and kind of working through this therapy of his own, trying to get past the fact that he killed his daughter, and the fact that he's kind of been blaming on it as like kind of programming is, his programming, he didn't have a choice in it, which is a part that I really enjoy about this. One of the things I really enjoyed about this episode, which is him exploring this idea of are we kind of predestined? Do we have real choices? Are we just predestined to kind of follow our genetics, or to our programming that we were kind of developed, like that we were raised or born into, or do we have a choice in the matter? Was William, was he just born this way? Was he born a more violent person, or has he chosen to be that way? And so I like just kind of exploring that idea, the idea of free will and consciousness and stuff like that. So it was just kind of fun to explore that, and especially explore that through the, him talking to versions of himself plus Delos, which I thought was interesting, because I'm like, okay, I guess that kind of makes sense, because you were talking to him for a while, but he's also the only one that's not a version of you. And he wasn't your actual dad either, so This isn't like Han Solo or something. But anyways, so that was still just a fun thing to kind of see, and then we see how his William ends up getting taken out of the VR by Bernard, who had just, I guess, found the mental institute and just brings him out, which now makes me think, was this actually a real mental institute, or was this kind of like a setup by Hale and he just got put in VR somewhere and he's been in VR, not a real hospital? Maybe. It's really hard to think. That's one thing about Westworld, is you're not always sure if you can trust what you're seeing. You don't know if you're watching somebody in a VR, if they're in the real world, or if they're in a Westworld. And so, but it was still just kind of interesting. I'm curious to see what Bernard wants with William, and obviously we'll probably learn that in the next episode. So yeah, that was interesting. And then the other storyline we heavily followed in this one was Hale trying to, Hale trying to, I don't want to say stop. She's gotten past being able to stop Sirach's takeover, but she's just kind of doing some damage control, I guess the best way to put it, trying to salvage a couple things, salvage some of the host data before Sirach deletes it all, and get that back to Dolores or her other Dolores self. And so it was kind of interesting to see Hale having to be a badass, going sneaking around, getting downloading information and trying not to get caught. And then she gets caught and she has to escape, kills a whole board, well, seemingly not, at least knocks out, maybe killed the whole room full of board members, escapes, beats some people up, which I always just love seeing, which was really fun, really cool action in this one for Hale's character. So particularly, I love me an elevator fight, can't go wrong. And so that was fun. And then she also got a little backup from the riot control robot that we saw in like the first or second episode of this season. Now it's been in the trailer a bunch. It's the one that Hale goes and touches, and you see that. I specifically remember that being in the trailer. But yeah. So that was kind of just fun to see, because I was like, I knew that riot robot was going to come back. There was no reason for them to show it and put the effort into making a big CGI thing unless he was going to do something, and he did. He could have done more, but he did awesome. So yeah, it was fun to see the riot control thing. And yeah, then the last little thing is something I kind of missed, which is a part of Hale being discovered. Her trying to escape. She does some kicking, some ass, and then she ends up killing Hector because she's trying to stop. It's this really kind of interesting thing, because while Maeve's in the VR talking to one version of Dolores, another version of Dolores is out there wrecking shit, and then another one's doing some other shit. And so we see Hale ends up taking and destroying Hector's pearl and killing him, actually like really killing him, not just kind of host temporary kill, not body kill, but pearl kill, or real kill, as it refer to it in our Altered Carbon, or real death is what they refer to it. That's just a different sci-fi thing, but the point is it's really sad to see Hector go. I didn't want to see him die, and I was just like, why would you do that, Hale? This seems so unnecessary. Hector was so great. So yeah, it was just kind of sad to see that, especially that kind of ending. He didn't even get to put up a fight. Maeve doesn't even, Maeve just can't do anything because she's stuck in VR, but has access to the security cameras in the facility where their pearls are and where their new bodies are getting printed, new host bodies are being printed. So that was a little sad moment to see him go in such a kind of not the way we want Hector, not the way Hector would want to go out. He want to ride, he wants to go guns blazing. And so, yeah, I was a little like, oh, poor Hector, but he also hasn't been around that often, that much this season, just popped up once or twice. But yeah, so that was a little like, but then also Hale's able to recover the Dolores copy that Maeve was talking to, so Maeve can't, try to get more information out of her. Yeah, and that's pretty much, we almost leave the episode after that, because then we see Hale escapes and we see she goes and gets her family again, which is another really interesting thing I like about Hale's storyline this season, of being a Dolores copy but also having Hale's memories and feelings. Apparently that's the thing she mentioned, this one, having their emotions, and so you can see she even says in this episode she's feeling further apart from Dolores, and that's because it seems like the Hale side of her seems to be kind of taking a little bit more of a hold. But even just beyond that, the fact that, you take a Dolores copy, as soon as that copy is going down, she even says it again, Hale says it in this episode, they went down different paths. So once, Dolores was in a Hale body, that's a whole new path that she's taken. And so we see that at the end of this episode, Hale tries to escape with her family. And so that's kind of what I was talking about, the fact that, Dolores, Hale, the Dolores copy in Hale is, having real trouble with this identity crisis of, remember that she's solely a Dolores and not a Hale, even though she has Hale's memories and all that stuff. But anyways, so that was interesting. They try to escape, and then the car gets blown up, which I was like, I feel like you maybe should have checked that, Hale. I feel like you're a little too confident in your abilities to be ahead of Suruk, who, up to now has proved that he seems to be, not ahead of you at least, but he seems to be sticking up with your foot and foot. Like, he wasn't in the boardroom. You didn't think he planned ahead? He even mentioned the fact that he knew you weren't the real Hale because you cared more about your family than the real Hale would have. And it's like, so you think the best idea is then to go get your family and not do a little double check on the car? Not that I'm an explosives expert, but I'm also not a host. So yeah, that was just kind of like a little bit like okay, maybe you should double check the bottom of your car when you're trying to escape from somebody trying to kill you. But that's just maybe because I've seen way too many TV shows and movies. But anyways, her family ends up dying, which is again another sad moment of this episode, because dying people isn't nice. And so, but yeah, we do see that, but we do see Hale survives, very badly injured and burnt from the explosion, but does survive. And that's where we end off the episode, is her walking off, I imagine, to go get healed and tell Dolores, what happened. But yeah, so that's pretty much all that happened in this episode. And for all my thoughts on what happened, I enjoyed this episode, but I'm excited because we're getting to the next couple episodes at the end of the season. It's these bittersweet episodes where it's like, oh, I'm excited to get to, the kind of conclusion for the season, but at the same time, I'm like, only 2 more weeks and then I get no more Westworld? That's just depressing. But, yeah, there's plenty of TV still to watch though. But anyways, that's off topic. What did you guys think of this latest episode of Westworld? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for joining me today. Subscribe to the channel if not already, and have a good one.